Hey guys, it's Danny. Today we are going to take care of hopefully 2 of the sick orchids that I received last week in my orchid garden haul, which some of you might already know. It was a pretty disastrous haul. I actually lost quite a few of the orchids that I received. I was hoping to have more videos to work with today, but these are the only 2 that I could salvage from the ones that were sick, and I'm hoping this one will be savable as well because it's not looking good. But I'll tell you all about them, what I did so far, and we'll see where we go from there. And look what I just received, my Orchids at Heart mug. Well, I received multiple stuff, but this is a great opportunity to remind you about our campaign. Before we go ahead with the video, let me just remind you about our fundraiser campaign for the month of December. We put together a brand new line of merch with a super cute design, but the best thing about it is that all profits will be donated to charity. They will go directly to Doctors Without Borders to help them out in their humanitarian missions all around the world. Also, repotme.com will match and donate themselves 10% of the total donations we gather. And of course, we ourselves already donated to Doctors Without Borders. So check the links down below to learn more about our campaign and Doctors Without Borders, and of course, check out the merch store and the products that we put together for you. I'm sure you'll find something you like. Joey's in charge of stocks. She takes her job very seriously, as you can see. If you find this video useful, don't forget to give it a like, and why not subscribe? I post 3 times a week. So let's actually start with the Cattleya. Now, in that order, if you remember, I had a Cattleya which came with black rot. Now, black rot is a generic term for an infection that can spread very, very fast through the orchid. Typically, there is no way to treat it with fungicides or things of the sorts, and you just need to cut away the affected tissue. If you want to use fungicides, you can. I personally don't like to use them. I use something else. And in the end, if you act fast, you can actually save orchids. So I'm going to show you what I did. First and foremost, I cut away all of the black portions. I made sure to cut into good tissue because otherwise we would leave infection still in the leaf, which will continue unbothered. So as much as possible, I tried to cut all of the black portions. If there were black pseudobulbs, I completely removed them. If there were too many black patches on leaves, I removed the leaves, but for the main part, I tried to save as much of the leaves as possible. After I removed all of the black patches that I saw, I dosed down the orchid in hydrogen peroxide 3%. I used a spray bottle and I sprayed stems, roots, leaves, everything. And after all of that was done, I kept the orchid warm and dry. A couple of days later, I noticed that the black rot returned on some of the leaves, so I cut again the portions that were affected. And here we are, about a week later, the orchid does not have any more rot spots on the leaves, which is good. The bad part is some of the pseudobulbs are starting to rot. And I don't know if it's black rot or something else. And Maya just decided to act as the cameraman. She's on the tripod right now, and she's not having a good time because it's not straight. What are you doing there? So really honestly, the chances of me saving this orchid have really plummeted at this point. I have no faith in this orchid, but we're gonna try. So I'm gonna give you some close-ups to see exactly what I mean. The thing is, even if I remove the rotting pseudobulbs right now, which I'm gonna do, I'm not entirely sure how many available eyes or growth points this orchid has. So even if I manage to eliminate whatever ails it, I'm not sure if this orchid can grow again. There is a limit even to orchid growth, even though they are very resourceful and they will always have a growth point available. Sometimes even those can run out. So I will do my best, but right now, I don't think I can save this orchid. Even though I think some of the pseudobulbs are still okay, I just don't know if they can grow anymore. All right, so as you can tell, the roots are all dead. This didn't happen overnight. The orchid arrived like this. I just let them be in order to see if any of them still have some life in them, but no, they don't. So maybe this is not necessarily black rot here. Maybe this is something connected to the roots and their demise. Who knows at this point, but I need to remove this section. This is affected as well. So first, I'm just gonna pull them apart and see if this works. Yep, it worked great. Let me look at this. This still looks okay, but do you see this eye is spent? These eyes are spent. Here in the back, Oh, this one is not looking all that great anymore. Yeah, the eyes are spent on this guy as well. I don't know, but we're gonna try. We're gonna give it a go. So I'm gonna cut away all of these roots which are not alive anymore, just because they might actually harbor some pathogens. Just gonna clean the orchid up. This used to be a new growth here, and it was rotten when I received the orchid, but who knows? Who knows? Maybe this orchid does have an available eye somewhere, and if it makes it, that really will be close to a miracle, to be fully honest. All right, so I cleaned the orchid as best as possible. Now let's pot it up. Oh, actually, before that, I think it's a good idea to spray it again with hydrogen peroxide, just this area. Okay, so I'm gonna discard all of this. Nothing is good here anymore. Clean up my tray and sanitize it, and I'll come back with the little pot. All right, so I have a small little pot in a decorative container. I also have a bamboo skewer that I cut in half to stabilize this orchid since there are no roots, and a little plant clip. This is the type that has these little indentations which can actually grab the skewer and not actually squeeze the flower spikes or whatever we're trying to stabilize. I'm running out of a vocabulary. So you know the usual drill. I'm gonna put some sphagnum moss at the bottom, then some bark. Let's see. Yeah, I need more sphagnum moss. And then alternate sphagnum moss and bark all the way to the top. Oh, hi. Do you wanna see what I'm doing? Do you wanna sit here and assist? Curious little Maya. What do you think, little bird? Do you think the orchid will survive? I sure hope so. Okay, so to stabilize it, I'm going to use this bamboo skewer next to the biggest pseudobulb, and then pin it with this clip, and we're all done and stable. Ta-da! If you're not interested, why do you come here though? Okay, so now really it's up to the orchid. There's nothing more that I can do. I'm just going to try to maintain this medium, not wet, but just a little bit damp. And hopefully one of these eyes will decide to wake up. I honestly don't see any eye, any little growth node, but hey. All right, next up, this is quite interesting. This is a vanda which is covered in algae. And when I say covered, I mean covered. Roots, stems, leaves, everything. Now, after I edited the unboxing video, I realized that the light was not ideal. So you couldn't actually see the extent of how these orchids looked like. So I'm gonna give you a close-up of this one so you see exactly how utterly covered in algae it is. I've never seen anything like this. I've seen orchids with algae on their roots, and that's quite understandable. Roots get wet frequently. Sometimes they are kept pretty much wet at all times and ventilated at the same time, which is absolutely fine, but that also promotes algae. Algae without water, no, it's not gonna happen. But can you imagine how wet this orchid was overall that it managed to accumulate deposits on the leaves? Wow, that is new for me. Now, algae in itself is not bad, and P.S. before I get any comments, algae and algae, same thing. British pronunciation algae, American pronunciation algae. I'm not American nor British, so I'm just gonna pronounce it however I learned how to pronounce. Okay, back to the story. So the thing is, a few deposits, pretty okay. It's not gonna harm the orchid, but a lot of deposits, let's just think about it. The roots, which are super covered now, they feel velvety, which is not something you want the roots to feel like. Roots should be slippery. When they're wet, they should be slippery, kind of. So you can imagine that their absorption is really impaired at this point. They might not be able to absorb nutrients because they are coated with algae. Then let's look at the leaves. If they're so covered in algae, both on the bottom and on the top, well, photosynthesis is impaired because these algae are actually shading and reducing the quantity of light that falls on the leaf. And also on the underside, I think they can clog up the stomatas, they can affect the gas exchange, pretty much the breathing of the plant. So yeah, algae deposits, maybe not the worst thing you can have, but if there are too many of them, like in this case, I'm pretty sure that the orchid will not be happy. If it's not going to completely decide that it had enough, then most certainly it will lack things. So Let's see how to remove algae. Well, we're in luck because hydrogen peroxide 3% is actually super good against algae as well. Now, I already tried it on the roots. They're way too attached to this velamen. The velamen does not have the cuticle, which is that glossy layer on top of the leaf. The root is pretty textured in comparison, so I don't think I can remove the deposits simply by spraying them. Yes, I can remove part of the deposit, but not everything. This will not work. I'm just going to waste hydrogen peroxide. So what I actually tried, and it looked like it worked, look at this. Can you see this little patch? It's clear. You know how I obtained this? With a sponge, more specifically with the abrasive side of a sponge. So I think this is how I'm gonna go about the roots. Okay, so I'm gonna show you here on a root what I'm gonna do, but I will go at the sink since I can actually rinse whatever deposits I'm removing. Right now the sink is a little cluttered because I'm washing a lot of pots, but pretty much I'm getting the abrasive side, and without actually really pushing on the root, I'm just going and scrubbing off all of this algae. It's actually working, wow. With hydrogen peroxide, it did not work like this. Now, I don't think the sponge will actually damage the roots. As long as I make sure not to actually scratch the velamen, everything should be okay. And even if a few algae will still remain there, it's okay. I just don't want the bulk of them to be here. Because at this point, I don't even know if the roots are able to function. And wow, look at that. It is actually working. So I'm gonna go to the sink and do this and come back when the roots are cleaned. I will not clean obviously the dead roots. This is obviously dead. I will remove everything that is dried and dead like this. I'm just going to clean the good roots. So give me a second, I'll be right back. Okay, we're back, and actually I think I did a pretty good job. The green you see on the roots, that is their natural color when wet. It's not algae anymore. There might be a little bit of staining, yes, but some parts are completely cleaned. I'm very happy. Now, I wouldn't necessarily go with the abrasive sponge on the leaves, particularly on the undersides. If I must, then maybe I'll try, but I want to try something else first. What I'm going to use are some cotton discs and some hydrogen peroxide. And I'm just going to go and try to rub. Ooh. Look at this, it's working. Yeah, so I'm just going to rub the algae in this manner because the cotton is very, very soft. I don't think it will damage anything or clog up anything more than it already is. You usually don't want to clean the undersides with cotton or anything because you can clog the stomatas. But really at this point, I don't think I can do much more than what these algae are doing. I think I am declogging them. Also, the hydrogen peroxide will act as well and basically dissolve whatever tiny deposit is left behind. So yeah, I think I'm gonna do that rather than going in with the sponge. I think it's a lot safer for the orchid, but look at this, you guys. That is wild, isn't it? So I'm just gonna go ahead and do this for the upper side as well and come back with the finished product, which you might not see a big difference because algae are green as well, but in person, trust me, the difference is like night and day. So I think we're gonna be able to clean off this orchid properly. Wow, look at this. I am still in shock. This is wild. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'll spare you my reactions and come back when I'm done. Okay, so I was cleaning the orchid and in between the joints here, I cannot really reach. So I was just pouring hydrogen peroxide and all of a sudden bugs started to come out. Now, when I unpacked this orchid, I did see some sort of bugs. They weren't spiders. They looked like nothing I've ever seen before. But I thought, you know, it was just a fluke. Now, though, I am seeing things move. I'll try to give you a close-up. Maybe we can find one of these bugs. If you don't like bugs, I'm gonna put a timestamp on the screen that you can jump to so you can skip the bug part. I don't know if there's anything left, but I'll show you. So here in the joints, you can see I cannot really reach. I'm just spraying hydrogen peroxide because that will actually remove the algae. And I will make sure to dry this orchid. Oh no, look what I'm doing on the floor. This has been an interesting journey. Let's see. Do I see any bugs coming out? You can actually hear it fizz. That's the algae fizzing away. Oh, okay. I see one here in the crown. Do you see it? Come on, focus. That thing over there. What is that? Oh, I don't know what that is. I'm gonna spray it again. I don't know if it's a strip or what it is, but I've never seen anything like it. It looked a little bit like a strip. Case in which hydrogen peroxide, not sure if it's gonna do much, but oh man, this poor orchid. Okay, so I'm gonna let it fizz and then I will remove all of this excess water and I'll come back to pot it up. Okay, so I'm actually going to let it be with the hydrogen peroxide fizzing in there. I'm gonna get some Q-tips from the house and go back and properly clean the joints. I am a little freaked out about those bugs. Typically when I receive orchids, they come with little spiders, which I'm perfectly fine with. Spiders are my friends. They take care of all of these little bugs that potentially can damage orchids. These guys, I assure you, were not spiders. I don't know what they were. Maybe they were harmless, but they didn't look very harmless to me, really. They looked a little bit like inflated thrips. Does that make sense? I don't know. So if they were spiders, I would absolutely let them be, but they're not. Reason why, I will keep this orchid separate for quite a while until I figure out what the heck is in there, because this orchid was like quote unquote dirty. I've actually never dealt with an orchid in this state before, so I'm not sure what to expect, but this does not mean it does not deserve a good chance at a good life. This is the Rhynchostylis retusa, by the way, which is an orchid I always wanted. I had a seedling at some point. It didn't do so great. It just withered off. Maybe there was something wrong with it, but I've always wanted this orchid. And if this little girl will turn out to be a beautiful, vigorous orchid, I will love it even more because I know the beginning and how awful the beginning was for it. So I actually love orchids that have this type of a story. It just really makes me care about them even more. Do you guys ever get that? The worse an orchid arrives to you, the more you feel like you're attached to it because you contributed to its well-being, let's say more hands-on than maybe other orchids. I don't know, that's how I feel. And I really want this orchid to be treated right and have the life it deserves. Okay, so I'm potting it in a clay pot just like the other vandas that I have. I'm using sphagnum moss and bark as my medium. Again, just like my other vandaceous orchids, the fact that the roots were kept so wet tells me this orchid is already adjusted to moist environments. It's not like I'm potting a bare-rooted grown vanda, which needs time to adapt. No, I think this orchid is already adapted, provided the roots will survive and they're not permanently damaged by the algae. I don't know. I've never dealt with such a degree of, at the end of the day, infestation. I cannot really call it anything else. And voila, orchid potted, and it's looking so much better. It will look even better when I get my Q-tips and go in between the leaves to completely remove that algae deposit. But I think we did a pretty good job. I think she is already feeling better. There is definitely more light available for the leaves. She will breathe a lot better tonight, so I think my work here is done. And that is about it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will keep you up to date with these two little orchids. This one, not sure if it's gonna make it, but this I think has great chances. And yeah, considering the start, I'm already super in love with it. So alrighty then, happy holidays and have a great Christmas. If you're celebrating, me and my boyfriend will be celebrating together alone with the birds this year, but it's the right thing to do. But anyway, I hope you're safe and healthy, and I hope you have a great time nevertheless. I will not be changing my schedule during the holidays. I'll take a break in January, by the way, but during the holidays, I'll keep uploading to the normal schedule as much as possible. So I will definitely see you next time. So until then, I hope you have a great day. Subscribe to my channel for more orchid videos, tutorials, experiments, updates, and other fun orchid subjects. If you wish to support the channel, do consider becoming a member or visit the merch store linked down below in the description. You can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook. It's always nice to stay in touch there as well. And I'll see you then. Bye!